on. That will take us to workplace racism. We had quite a few people who wrote in commentaries this week, so I'll try to get through those quickly. People would like to participate in workplace racism. The number again is 641-715-3640, and the code is 564943 pound. Press *6 if you would like to participate. Okay. Different people wrote in workplace racism. Report number 1, if you will remember the audio clip about the worker in San Francisco. He worked for the bus system there, so this would be a city employee who's making the racist comments, terrorizing a likely non-white person because you took my parking place, so I'm going to terrorize you. I'm upset. So this person wrote in, Bay Area listener. He says, I never have the courage to speak up during the workplace racism segment. However, I have you and your show to thank for me becoming more aware about racism and what it is. I work for the BART in the Bay Area. The BART is the Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's like the train subway system there. Oscar Grant died there. I clean these stations. Doing this kind of work, I get to really see white people for what they truly are. Hateful, disrespectful actors and just evil, among other things. I've been called all types of nigger. I've been threatened with violence several times by whites. I'm not big, not so tall, 5'8". My hair is locked, muscular with a lot of melanin. While at work, I never get this behavior when I am not at work. While at work, I've been harassed by vendors that work in the different stations. Every time I make a report, the BART police get mad at me. I requested a citizen's arrest before. The white BART officer who took my statement one time told me they can put whatever they want on the paper and that's what would be believed. I've had them get angry and they get hostile towards me for asking a question. Remember, I'm the victim in these cases. Now, saying all this, last Saturday, May 7, 2016, one of the white homeless people told me several times he was going to kill me while calling me all kinds of niggers. He had a weapon in his hand and took an attacking stance. I let the police know because lately there has been a lot of violence towards BART employees. So after barely looking for, So after barely looking for him, the white officer comes to me and tells me not to engage him. I say I didn't engage him, the homeless person, in the first place. Needless to say, that pissed him off. So they leave, and here comes the homeless guy once again, threatening me and calling me a nigger again. I was so mad and embarrassed. Later, I see the guy, and I see the same officer. I point him out as the cop walks up on me, pissed off. I asked him, is it okay for the guy to threaten my life? He says, I didn't say that. I tell him, there he goes. The officer was so super focused on me. I don't know what to do. This is not the first time. He's seeking any suggestions or input. I did write back a few suggestions or what have you. I'll maybe share later. All right, so this is, that's one. Second report. Workplace racism. Different person. This week, the director of the security department, white guy, walked into the employee cafeteria and said to a security guard, black guy, "What's up, my nigger?" Another employee overheard and reported it under the third-party offended, report or what have you. I've never even heard of that. And the director was fired. Number 2, this happened some years ago, but stays in my head. A white female would always speak and be extra friendly. I would speak just enough not to be rude. Wasn't codified back then, just didn't trust white people. I have a light complexion and darkness during the summer. So one summer day she says, "Oh, your tan is so nice. I would love to be your color." I responded, "You may not mind being my complexion, but I don't think you want to be my color." The look on her face was priceless, and she gave no response. Last incident of workplace racism. Unfortunately, I witnessed an obese, dangerous white woman go to a black female's desk when she knew she wasn't there and looked at the things she had on her computer screen, chats, open programs, etc. Always lock your computer, even if only stepping away a few feet or only for a few moments. I suspect white people are always watching and studying our behavior. Don't leave any information or bring anything personal or non-work related to work. Great suggestions. I think that's 2 weeks in a row that this has came up, and having suspected race soldiers snooping around your work area. So those are the 3 that people wrote in. People have comments or suggestions dealing with those 3. That is fine. If you have your own incidents of workplace racism you would like to share, feel free.
You know what's crazy is in New York, they have a law. It's on every bus when you get on it, and any assault of a bus driver is like assaulting a police officer. Like it's grade A felony. You're going to jail. There's no doubt about it. So I'm shocked that they and they enforce it very well here. I've seen black bus drivers call on a white person assaulting them, and that the cops come and scoop them right up. I'm just shocked that they allow that to happen in such a huge organization. I know it has to have a lot of black employees in BART. I think it's the second largest transit company in the United States behind New York. So, wow, this doesn't surprise me.
And FYI, I used to live in the Bay Area, so I'm somewhat knowledgeable about this area. This is not unusual. They had a major report within the last 18 months where apparently this was a standard thing. Black BART employees being threatened. And I mean, where this got reported, this was in the news and what have you, where they were leaving nooses on their workstations, referring to them as niggers. It seemed like some of this was not coming from transit users or some random, transient or what have you. It seemed like some of this might have been coming from their white BART coworkers, but same thing, nothing was being done about this, and it seemed like it was widespread. This is not an isolated event. It seems like this has been a problem for a long. That's why I said keep in mind the audio segment from this week, even though that was not a BART employee. That was he was a San Francisco transit worker with the bus station in San Francisco. That's not BART, but I mean it's right there and it's the same place. So this is not an isolated event within BART, San Francisco, even system of white supremacy at large. But I told him that I would include that when I go to make my report to the BART police agency, and when you go to report it to the people that you work for at BART, that there seems to be a pattern of unsafe work conditions and abuse of black BART employees, and I would pull out those news reports over the last year or so documenting that this seems to be widespread, and what are we doing to solve this problem?
I remember those reports, and did you have a guest on who talked about workplace racism, and he was working in I believe the Bay Area in the sanitation department?
Yes, sir. Daryl Muhammad, 2-time guest.
Also with a noose involved, right? Went down the conveyor belt?
Correct.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I guess, and the callers. I'm giving you an update on my 2-year project. I thought after the Ferguson thing, before the Ferguson thing, that we're such a small place that surely we should be able to at least have some say as black people in our local electoral, politics. So the first thing I did was clean up the elections office for the county. We got somebody in there who, white guy who didn't know anybody. And now it's they brought him up to the commission a couple of times. So now the elections are coming up in November. So he's got the DA, the sheriff, the judge, and they've got this guy that they've asked to hire somebody because they owed a person a favor and he refused. And so now the police are following him everywhere he goes, and people are putting requests on him to dig up 20 years worth of elections, and his health is suffering, and he's freaking out, and I don't know, we may not be able to hang on to him until this next election, but That was the first thing I did. That took a year just to clean up that one electoral office. And so everybody's starting to participate, encourage everybody to participate. And I'm noticing that we whatever white people tell us, we just believe it. We just believe it right away. So we've got these black people who are out there, and we're encouraging them to run for office. And the white people aren't campaigning. They aren't spending any money on signs. They aren't going anywhere. And the black people are telling each other, well, white people don't campaign like we campaign. And I said, who told you that? They said, it's true, they don't. I said, well, you need to call Hillary Clinton because she's campaigning her behind off. And so is Bernie Sanders, and so is Donald Trump. So whoever told you that, they're lying to you so that you won't suspect that something unusual is going on. So then 2 days into an 8-day election, the mayor comes out and says, the election's over with. Mathematically speaking, the white lady has it. And he tells all the candidates that. And they go, well, the mayor ought to know. It's over with already. And I'm going, mathematically speaking, 2 days into an election, isn't that kind of strange? So, we are so gullible because this is an office I have not audited. The one I spent a year auditing, and this is one I haven't. But the elections, it's who counts the votes. Every election it's who counts the votes. These elections are so crooked. It's just like Dr. Umar Johnson was saying, hey, you weren't there when they were scoring your kid's STAR test. So I just can't believe how crooked these elections are. I mean, there's just nothing going on. Oh, and a pipe burst. All the elections equipment. It drowned. It has to be done again. It has to be rechecked. So I'm sure when there's a glitch in it for this next election in November, they'll say, oh, well, who knows? We should have known something was going to happen. I want to say it's hopeless, but I don't tend to be a hopeless type of person, but this is really astounding. I mean, I don't know if I'm communicating this to you, but and the police follow me. They follow me now. So, I mean, I was on the jogging path a couple of days ago, and the jogging path, and I hear bloop, bloop like that, and there's an SUV behind me. I'm like, what are you doing? He says, oh, have you seen any suspicious black men in the park? I'm like, just you. You're the only one. You have an SUV on the jogging path. So it's getting out of control because the sheriff and the DA and the judge they're panicking because no one's caving. They're sending out bribe after bribe, and no one's biting. So it's really escalating now. I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
All right. Hey, can I just say something about that, Gus, real quick? I've been listening to the show for years, and I've been listening to Karma talk about, I believe that's Karma, talk about the working in this political process where she lives at. And, I mean, she's just, like so solidified my stance on not voting over the years. And this show, I mean, what she just said today, like, the count the votes, it's pointless. I mean, I just don't get it. And I'm glad she's come on over the years and shared these stories because it's just like, him at home, don't vote,
The two new people that joined the line, did you all have commentary, workplace racism, either what you have heard from folks already or if you had your own incidents you wanted to share, either or is acceptable?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, excuse me. So, on my team right now, I don't know if you guys know, like, I sell cars, so anyway, I'll get into it. But on my team right now is two white ladies. So, there's like an older, like skinny white lady, and then it's like a fat white girl. Anyway, so we were outside standing, like, so when you don't have customers, you pretty much sometimes you just like stand outside and do nothing pretty much. So I just happened to be standing outside, and like I guess a customer had came on, and they were like, oh, do you want that customer or whatever? because we have a list of order that we go in. So anyway, she was saying, somehow it came up like, like something about running to customers. Like, I don't even know how we got on that topic. But anyway, the white lady was like, yeah, I'm going to refer to myself as Jay. So anyway, she was like, yeah, like we all know if we have to run to the customers, freaking Jay will win. And then I think she caught herself. And so I'm like 6'3". So she caught herself and she was like, yeah, because he's the tallest. But anyway, I got another story too. So this happened a while back. I would say in like December. So anyway, one of the managers had owed me a deal. So this was at night. So it had to be it was super dark. It had to be at like 9 p.m. So what happened was that so he came to me. He was like, hey, Justin, go grab a check-in slip. So you grab a check-in slip, like when you check in the car, like so they verify it, like they put all the information in or whatever. So anyway, I grabbed a check-in slip on the car, and then from there he introduced me to the guy. So sometimes, like, they just give people deals, so you don't even know, like, the customer or whatever. So anyway, he introduced me to the guy, and he made me fill out a credit app with him. So I'm filling out the credit app with the guy. Now the guy looks like he's like a freaking like a scumbag looking white dude, like with a bunch of tattoos or whatever. And it was kind of weird that he gave me this deal at the time, because a lot of this stuff was weird. Like he didn't have a credit app already and just a bunch of stuff. So anyway, I'm doing the credit app with the guy. He has mind you, has a bunch of tattoos, like messed up teeth. He has like a New Era fitted cap on, whatever. And I asked him like, oh, what's your occupation? He's like, oh, well, I work in Catalina Island, like as a chef. And I'm like, really? Like you work as a chef? But I'm like, dude, like, he's a white dude. Like people get hired anywhere. So whatever. So I fill it out. I go to my manager. I'm like, oh, so yeah, it's a done deal. Whatever. Let me go put this in our CRM. That's where we put the information. So it'll be accurate or whatever. So he was like, no, you don't have to put it in. He was like, here, give me the credit app. So I'm like, this is kind of suspicious, because they never help you do anything. Like even if they give you a deal, they really don't help you do anything. So while I'm talking to the manager, I noticed my guy had walked out. My guy had walked out the dealership. And then I turn around, and he's freaking getting arrested. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So anyway, I find out that this white dude had called, and he had called, and he was actually using someone else's identity, and they had got him down there to basically like a sting operation, and they freaking tricked me into being the damn the guy to work with him. I was like, man, and I actually quit after this, but I had came back. But yeah, it was terrible. But yeah, that's all I had.
Did you get the impression that your white colleagues, that they knew that this was a sting operation, that this was about to go down, or did they find out at the same time you did?
No, I was the only one who didn't know. So it was like, and I was suspicious. So like I said, like when he asked me like, oh yeah, just give me the credit app, I was like, they never help me. They never help you put anything. They literally never help you with any of like the like putting the paperwork in and stuff. They always like, oh man, go do it, like whatever. So I'm like, this kind of weird, but at the same time, I'm like, damn, like he owes me a deal, so why wouldn't it be this easy? So, but I find out everyone knew.
Wow. Gus, can I speak to that briefly? Hello?
Oh, yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, thank you. It's funny that what he just talked about just reminded me of something. There's a book that I'm reading called 5 Secrets That Can Save Your Life, and it's basically an ex-CIA agent talking about the things that he's done in the field to protect himself from harm. and that he teaches average citizens and stuff. And one thing he talks about is situational awareness and being aware of normalcy. And what the guy just was talking about was normalcy. The fact that, like you said, normally they wouldn't help me with a sale at all. They'll leave you on your own. But in that moment, all of a sudden, they're being helpful. So that was something that was abnormal that he caught wind of. And then after the fact, he finds out that he's basically, they're working this game on him, and he's the only one who's not aware. So again, it just speaks to white people and their ability to band together in secret to do things where we're not consciously aware that we're being manipulated in some way. And kudos to you just for your ability to peep out the normalcy and the abnormal behavior in that situation, heightened your awareness, even though you didn't fully understand everything until after the fact. You functioned really well. So I just wanted to speak about that. Thank you.
Did you ask them why they didn't, share the information so that you too would know that, hey, this guy, there's a sting operation that's about to go down?
Yeah. So, I guess I guess they didn't. So they didn't know the guy was going to come down. So the guy came down, and I guess it was like a quit. Like this, this is what they told me. It was like he was like, oh man, yeah, I didn't have anybody else. Like, man, get out of here. So and he could have told me, but he was like, you would be acting nervous if I told you. So I was like, man, you could have told me that, and I would have freaking not took it. And that's why he was like, oh man, yeah, I know you wouldn't have took it if you would have told me that.
It sounds like they tried to set you up, because, man, what if that would have turned into the dude shooting or something, man? This is a criminal act, This is a criminal, It sounds like they said, man, who can we get to do it? Let's send the black guy. He's expendable.
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. But like I said, I actually quit, but I just didn't feel comfortable at the place that I went to, so I just came back like super quick. But man, I'm still planning on quitting soon. But like, dude.
Gus, I have an observation, if no one's going.
Yes, sir. Proceed. Well, there was, I think we had our caller in Michigan. She hadn't shared it all yet.
Oh, no problem. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
May I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Gus, and to the callers and listeners. I just wanted to add to the workplace racism. I did get another position at a different law firm, and I found it was interesting. I also agree with you had read a portion from someone who wrote in about locking your computers and making sure you're not just leaving or reading or leaving information, just about your personal life out because they, white people are nosy. And so I'm in a new law firm, and I just found it interesting. I work with, it's about 4 or 5 white women in my particular area. One is a white woman who's married to a so-called Arab. There's another white lady. She is, she brags about being in the Army and how, the time she spent in the Army. And then there's another white lady who's classified as like a Chaldean or something, or I don't know. She's like either Greek or Chaldean, but she's a lesbian. And I'm the only black person. And so it was interesting because they hired another person, another female, and she's white. She's kind of what people would call a dizzy blonde or whatever. But she's, pretty well off, and she's really new. She just started in the firm as like a secretary, and she doesn't know much, but they're being really patient with her. But the one white lady that was from the military, she doesn't like her. I guess they kind of clashed on the first or second day. So these 2 white women, I've just been observing how, they're clashing. And so the one from the military made a statement, was like, yeah, we know how to get rid of people around here that we don't like. And, she was like, we just make you feel really uncomfortable. And we will, if we don't like you, you'll just get really uncomfortable, and we'll make sure you're out of here. And so we think we're going to have to do that to her because, her and the lady, they clashed. And so it was just interesting to see, I'm like, wow, okay, I don't know if that was a message to me or if that, it was just interesting that she said that. So her plan is to band with the other white ladies and make this new girl get really uncomfortable so she can leave. It was just interesting. And then, it's just a different environment. So I'm looking forward to just, reporting, I guess, my experience. One thing that I noticed already, they always make a statement to me. You're so quiet. You're just so quiet because I go in. I'm not, talkative. I'm very polite. I'll good morning, but I'm not talkative at all. I just go in and do, the things that I'm contracted to do, and I leave. But the quietness makes them uncomfortable. So I just thought that was interesting. But I just, again, look forward to just talking about this experience because it is a different environment. And I'm observing that while working with white women is, it's just treacherous. So that's all I wanted to share.
Seems like 2 work environments in a row where you've had conniving white wenches looking to get rid of another white woman on the job, unless I'm mistaken.
Yep, exactly. Another scenario. So.
Fascinating. That might even be a good time to be very observant and really mindful about what's happening with you, because I think they were trying to rope you into getting rid of the last white woman on the job, so that might be a part of this plan as well.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how I coincidentally sit next to the lady who they're trying to get rid of. It's just interesting. And the lady that they're trying to get rid of, the one who's really ditzy, so to speak, she, I noticed she wants to ask me all the questions to help her navigate through her first days where she doesn't get along with the other white ladies. And I'm like, well, I'm new too, so I don't know nothing. I'll just play the dumb black lady because I'm not trying to get, I don't want to get wrapped up in y'all mess. So I'm playing the role like, nope, I don't understand either. I'm still learning, so I'm not going to I have no value to help you. So it's just interesting.
I wanted to say, I don't think it was a coincidence that they put you next to that white woman. I think they tried to subconsciously niggerize her by putting you in that same area. I notice white people tend to do that. Sometimes they'll kind of put people that they don't like in a certain area, and it's almost like the dunce corner minus the dunce cap. So it might have been strategic in a subconscious way of niggerizing that white female, and maybe even a subconscious way of kind of telling you if you don't get in line, you'll be in a similar position to her, as far as you saying that you feel that your potential quietness is discomforting to them. So just be mindful, I think, like Gus was saying, but I definitely don't think it was a coincidence that they put you next to her like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to help her or nothing, because you see they got it out for her. They see you helping her or something, they're going to switch you on you. Look at her. We already told her what was up. So they want to see, they're testing you to see if you're going to play the game or not. And, I mean, if it was a black female, I'll say, but this is a white female, I would just cut your losses, I don't know nothing, just like you're doing, stay as far away from her as possible.
Riot. I know some of the listeners would say they're not even helping the black person on the job, so the white person is definitely not going to be getting help. The caller at 7891, did you have commentary you were going to add to workplace racism?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, Gus, and to everyone else on the line. I just had a couple quick experiences. This is the first time I've actually been able to chime in to the show, so I'm definitely grateful for the quietness I'm around today. A couple quick things. Today, I actually wanted to leave an item for a coworker. Shout out to Roz. And I wanted to leave it for him because he wasn't working today, and I won't see him until I get back from vacation. Then I thought about it. Well, I don't want to leave it on his desk because there's too many eyeballs around. So I asked another coworker who's familiar with the two of us, can you make sure that he gets this on Monday? The main reason I did not want to leave it on his desk is because it's in the RBG colors. And, bad enough, when we have conversation, their ears are perked and they're trying to hear what we're talking about. So I want to be very careful on what I leave at my desk, which is nothing. And I definitely picked up on the suggestions from previous shows, about the material that you bring to work. I bring very neutral books with me when I'm at work, and I don't bring up any websites or anything like that while I'm at work. The second situation that I wanted to bring up was actually involving my son. He started an overnight job, part-time, because he does freelance work. So initially he was working for a department store, and he was working in the back overnight. And then he started putting him with certain other individuals more towards the front of the store, and they were pretty much terrorizing him. My son is very quiet. He's a very intelligent, very straight, this how it is type of person, and he doesn't bother anyone, but don't bother him. So he calls me one day. He goes, Mom, these people are about to see who I am, and I know what that means. So I told him, I asked him, what's going on? So he said there's this one particular white employee that would constantly say things under his breath and try to provoke him to either say or do something. So what I told him to do, well, first I asked him, is he doing this around other people? And he wasn't. So then I asked him, so where are you when he's trying to provoke you? And it was always in a secluded area. So I told him, I said, you know what, the next time you walk and you make sure you look around and make sure that there's some type of camera, some type of video. I said, and if you have to, pull out your phone. I said, because what he's trying to do is to provoke you to do something and then say that you started it, because he's, no one's going to believe that he did it or that he started it. So just, make sure you're in, either around someone else, make sure there's cameras around, or if push comes to shove, you pull out your own phone and you record them. And since he did that, he said he hasn't bothered him since. I said, but still watch your back. I said, because you've so to speak, outsmarted him and let him know that, no, you're not going to provoke me. Now he's going to scheme and try to get something else. So that just goes to show you, even, we hear of, women being terrorized at work and, things happening to women at work, and even to our black men at work as far as, being called nigger or something to the fact. This isn't, to that degree as far as him coming out and calling him nigger, but I won't put it past him. I would not put it past him. And my son is the kind, if you push him too far, you might see something, and I wouldn't want that to happen. So I had to kind of advise him, through my experience and, advising employees, because my background is in HR, and advising employees, this is how you handle it, and these are the steps that you need to take. And just, making sure that you document everything and making sure that, someone else knows about it, even if it's, recorded on your phone or recorded some other way, have some type of documentation. So I just wanted to share those two pieces of information. Thank you for letting me share.
For sure.
I have a question.
Karma?
Can anybody respond to the question? And I think it was a guest we had, and this reminded me, her son's situation reminded me, why do they always hire black women for HR? Why is there's a pattern there? There really is. I can definitely answer that question, and it's because we're not afraid to speak up. We're not afraid to handle the tough situations, and we're made bad guy. So when they need to, trickle down some information that may not be hard to take for the employees, they're going to put, the black woman out there. They're going to put, the minority woman out there. So it's easier to swallow for the employees. If it's coming straight from management or straight from, the white executive, they're scared of the uproar. They're scared of the backlash. So if you put a black woman out there speaking to especially black or minority employees, they're more apt to either accept it or the backlash will not be as tough. So there's definitely a pattern, and that's one of the reasons why I left HR, is because, you're putting me out there to do all this, you're putting me out there to do this dirty work, and you're treating me like management, but you don't want to promote me. You don't want to pay me as management, and you don't want to recognize me as management. So you're no longer going to use me, as your puppy to do your dirty work. So yes, to answer your questions, there's definitely a pattern, definitely. Thank you.
Do we have a male caller that's in HR? I thought he had been sharing about he was the person that people were going to when they were having problems or reporting some form of mistreatment or incorrect behavior on the job, and he was the person that was kind of in a situation to mediate these. I'm not sure if he's on the line now, but just maybe if he...
The caller who asked to do the prayer.
Right. I thought he might have... It sounded like he was in a position that might have been HR related. Maybe if he hears the archive, he can chime in the future on Karma's question. I did want to make sure I got in my commendation. That is... outstanding. I think I've heard so many black people say that they didn't have anybody to give them suggestions or tips on how to deal with racism on the job, and to be able to have a black mom a week after Mother's Day, a black mom being able to give her child some constructive information to help him neutralize some of the racist shenanigans on the job. That is outstanding. Just great to hear. Anybody have any follow-up questions they want to ask, what they heard, or... I will also make sure I second, you do not certainly, I have suggested for years not having anything on your desk at your work area that is not related to the job that you're doing, like nothing. Photographs, candy dish, nothing at your area, just to minimize. It doesn't just minimize the nosy factor, but it also... You do not want to have any reason, any excuse for white people spending any extra time at your desk. If it's a candy dish, if it's a photograph, not only is that extra information, now that's more time. Now I have an excuse to come and hang out at your desk or what have you, to act like I'm coming to get a piece of candy, or I just want to look at your updated photographs. When are you going to put up new photographs? Just another reason for you to come by and do more snooping, more interrogation, asking more questions, trying to get more information. I'm a huge fan of being a minimalist, and if things do take a turn for the worse, which happens frequently under this system, and you are terminated, I think even callers have said that they enjoy you having to pack up all of your trinkets and walk out when you don't have all that stuff there. I don't even need a box. I'm empty-handed. I don't have anything here but the things that I needed to do my job. Maybe I have a pen that I will take with me that's mine, but very much a proponent of no unnecessary stuff on the desk and not leaving gifts and that sort of thing, because I've seen where white people are. I mean, they steal everything. They steal people, so why wouldn't they steal a gift that was left for someone else? So definitely a good suggestion on that one as well, not leaving things for other employees. Make sure you can put it in their hand. Roz, were you going to comment as well, sir?
Yes, I was. I wanted to say big up to Sister V, and definitely she has helped a few people on the job with HR questions dealing with issues. So if there's callers that might have situations, she's brilliant, and she's really great. And just to get to my workplace observation, we had a training this week, and it was supposed to be based on cooperation. So there were 3 different groups that were brought in there of 3 people, and they all have their own teams. I'm on one of the teams, and they had us all mismatched. So all the teams were together into 3 separate teams of one of each member of each group. And they gave us this scenario. So they said that we were surgeons at a hospital, and our committee must make a very important decision. 7 patients need a heart transplant. There's only 1 heart donor at this time. All of the patients are eligible to receive the heart. All are physically able and all have compatible tissue and blood typing. Which patient would you choose to receive the heart? And that the committee must agree on the choice. So the first was a 31-year-old male African-American brain surgeon at the height of his career with no children. The next was a 12-year-old female Vietnamese accomplished violinist who was blind. The next was a 40-year-old male Hispanic teacher with 2 children. The next was a 15-year-old female, white, unmarried, and 6 months pregnant. The next was a 35-year-old male Hispanic Roman Catholic priest. The next was a 17-year-old female, white, waitress, high school dropout, supports and cares for her brother who is severely disabled. And the last one was a 38-year-old female white AIDS researcher with no children who was a lesbian. So needless to say, I kept gearing towards the 31-year-old African-American male. And my logic was that he's a brain surgeon, and that because he's at the height of his career, he can save more people's lives. With his life being saved, he will be able to save other people's lives. That was my premise. So we go through the whole process, and we finally settle in. He almost got chosen, but we ended up settling in on the 40-year-old male Hispanic teacher with 2 children, and that was because he can also affect lives of children as an educator. So bottom line was I wasn't letting any white people live in this scenario. And what I found out, because we have nurses, clinical nurses that are part of the team, so I were asking them questions about how this process would go. And they said even though they would take a lot of other factors into consideration, like whether the person smoked or not, or how they would treat the organ that they would receive by their lifestyle, one thing they did say was that they do take into account the person's ability to contribute to society, and they vaguely alluded to race being a factor as well. And I just sat there and I thought to myself, wow, how many black people probably were overlooked for a transplant simply because they were black, and not because, they might have had the same qualifications as the brain surgeon, but because they were black, they were basically life unworthy of life. And again, I just get these subtle clues towards the way race works in the healthcare system, and it's just, some of it is so subtle, and then other times it's just overt and just in your face, like what we're seeing in the book. So it's just, we have to be very conscientious about every aspect of the healthcare field that we interact with, and try our best to not have to interact with them by living the healthiest lifestyle possible, being highly cognizant of our mental health. And thank you for listening to my workplace racism observations.
Can I make a comment on that, Gus, real quick?
Yes, sir.
Man, it's funny because not funny, but it's ironic because they probably wouldn't even know how to do a heart surgery if they didn't operate on some slaves and try to figure it out on probably a few hundred slaves until they got it perfected. I just wanted to piggyback off of the caller from Michigan that went to the law firm because I've seen this happen too. So I would just say for that white lady that is working there, and they don't like her, and they're going to gang up on her, although you want to stay away from her, but also be nice to her, because white people have special powers. One day she could come in with, like, some ginger snap cookies or hook everybody up with some coupons or something, and she becomes everyone's best friend. And it's like, oh, that black one over there, she was mean to me, and they turn on you. So be very cautious of that, because I've seen that play out a lot of times as well.
Good point. Well, we did our 3 hours, and we will be back in exactly 12 hours with the Global Sunday Talk on racism. If folks have other commentary, confusion, suggestions, something wasn't clear, feel free. You can drop an email untiljustice@gmail.com. I did want to say the 2 things that I shared with the worker in the Bay Area, the BART transit worker. I told him that I would ask for written policy from both his employer, BART, as well as the enforcement office, the enforcement agency that does the security at the BART station. I would ask for their written policy on how they are, what is the written protocol in terms of how they're supposed to respond if a BART employee is threatened with violence. Because I know they have got to have a written policy about exactly what is supposed to be done, who's supposed to do it, documentation, the whole nine, particularly if there's been a spike in this sort of activity. I am certain, because they were having protests at the BART station back with Oscar Grant and all that, I'm sure they have written protocol. I would ask for it in writing from both agencies, and then ask if that procedure was followed with what happened in his situation or situations, since he said it happened multiple times. And Dr. Kamal Kamban, I've talked to him, and he's in these type of instances, he has recommended go see a doctor and go see a mental health professional, because you want to generate documentation in the same way that they do, because this this victim was saying that they felt this was impacting their health, and it certainly is, making them being stressed. I would go and report, I'm having trouble sleeping, headaches, I feel anxious, almost as though I'm having a panic attack. It has affected my energy. It's affected me wanting to be around other people. I would write out as many symptoms as you can. That way, even if you don't choose to do anything in the future, just to have that documented, if you can go see a health physician and a doctor, they might even say, hey, this person needs to get, a week of paid time off work, that they're having all of these traumatic events happening on work, and it's impacting their health. They need, a week, 2 weeks off, of vacation time to calm their heart rate. It's really stressful for them, and I'm concerned about their well-being. Just get that documented. In fact, Daryl Muhammad, he was mentioned, that was the black male in the Bay Area who was also being terrorized on the job. He went to see a healthcare practitioner, and that was what they said. In fact, I think he had to go and see multiple healthcare practitioners. One, he had a workplace injury, and then the stress of dealing with all of the racism that was happening to him on the job. But those are two things I know Dr. Kamban would recommend that. That way it's documented. You can show that you were experiencing these things, certainly document the earlier incidents of white supremacy that were happening on the job, and exactly what was said, even for the incident the female caller was saying with her son, documenting exactly what this person is saying every time. If they're coming in to taunt you, if it's name calling, whatever it is, keep a record of that. That's something that gets encouraged almost on a weekly basis, and I think is extremely important. Document it, write it down with as much detail as possible. Your memory, none of us, our memory is not as good as we think, particularly 6 months, a year down the line. You just won't remember all of the exact details, the date, the time, exactly verbatim what was said. All of that can be extremely important, more so than you might realize at that moment. With that, again, we'll be here tomorrow. I think this week we should be here tomorrow. Tuesday, we're going back to New Orleans. They just had a great article in the paper talking about the pseudo effort to return the public schools in New Orleans. They have the charter school system there, but to return the school control of the schools to local citizens. It's predominantly a black city, to return control of the schools to the black residents of New Orleans. And Anitra Brown, she is with the New Orleans Tribune. She was on before talking about the Hurricane Katrina, the 10-year anniversary. She's been talking about this, and the folks at the New Orleans Tribune have been talking about this as a total racist farce. They are not trying to return control to black citizens at all. They're just giving the appearance that that's what they're doing. This got reported in the New York Times as well. It was on the front page earlier this week. She should be back on the program on Tuesday. Pam should be here on Wednesday. Everybody's favorite topic, how to deal with having a family member who has married a white person. Strategies, tips on navigating that whole situation. She should be here Wednesday. I spoke with Dr. Welsing's sister, Lauren Cresslove, today. We're going to see what her schedule looks like. She might be visiting with us on Thursday to give an update, just to share more information. It was great to speak with her today. And I will say, it was unpleasant to hear, but I was extremely happy when I did hear it. Not only did Dr. Frances Cress Welsing die, but her other sister, Barbara Cress Lawrence, she passed away just a few weeks after Dr. Welsing passed away this year. So it's been a very traumatic year, to say the least, for Lauren Cress Love. But she said she would have to check her calendar because she is getting therapy to deal with the grief from her losses. I was extremely happy to hear that she is actively managing her health as best she can. That was something I had, talked with her before and just said I hope that she was doing as best she can to take care of herself. So I was very glad to hear that, although, that is extremely sad is not even the word. But it was good to hear that she is doing that, and I hope that's something that we can take from that as well, to do as much as you can to get help in managing our health. We are under constant assault. Racists do everything that they can to have us in a state of dis-ease, depression, sadness. You can think of Khalif Browder again. They do everything that they can to put us in that position. Even the black mom who was telling us about her son being constantly terrorized on the job to get him to a point where he can act out, and then they'll have an excuse to terminate him. Just recognize when you are stressed, recognize when you're frustrated, depressed, and try to get help as best you can, even if you don't want to go to a therapist or what have you, even if you have people that you trust who will listen to you. Sometimes it can just be helpful if you can talk, if you can get some of the frustration or pain, if you can verbalize that, having one or two people that you can talk to. It is extremely important. Black mental health, stressed that at the beginning of the year. That's something that we should be extremely mindful of under conditions of white terrorism. Hopefully we'll be able to speak to Lauren Cresslove this week, but more important, her taking care of her black health. With that, again, sobriety would be best under conditions of white terrorism. That's what they will encourage. Oh, you're feeling bad? You should get a 40 ounce of this, or have some legalized marijuana, or whatever else, crystal meth, anything else that they come down the pike with. Sobriety, you do not want to make it easier for race soldiers to terrorize you, your family, cause you unnecessary problems and strife for decades. Certainly, if you're going to be behind the wheel, driver, passenger, even as a pedestrian, you do not want to be under the influence. You're just making the job of Darren Wilson, Daniel Holtzclaw 1,000 times easier. We want to be able to make the best possible decisions to keep ourselves as safe as possible, you and anybody that you might be responsible for. Also, certainly buckle up every time if you're in an automobile. Let's do all that we can to minimize contact with race soldiers. With that, Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other black people, victims of white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Remind us to demonstrate the highest levels of black self-respect at all times, in all places, each and every time we are in contact with another black person. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Context of White Supremacy signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed.
I'm a victim, brother.
Problem. You're a victim.
I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Even my conditioning has been conditioned.